the Hero Pass, the thing that came to substitute Yak Track in the Battle Pass system. A lot of players have been saying that it was incredibly bad. But was it really? Let's actually discuss. Now, there have been a couple of changes from Yak Track to Hero Pass, and a lot of changes from Hero Pass to Hero Pass, because Jagex got a lot of feedback and they changed a lot of things. So, first of all, the steps are gone and they were replaced with levels to 120. These levels require a certain amount of points for you to just increase it. The way you obtain points is actually quite varied now. Not only can you do the old skill and kill tasks, except they are not tasks, you just earn points by playing the game and you have an overall point system. You can also earn points by doing daily and weekly timed tasks, tasks that come every day or every week, and when the time ends they are gone, that can provide you with extra points. You also have weekly and seasonal tasks that actually stack all the way up until the end of the track, so you can do them at any point and they are not timed, which also offers some extra points on top of everything else. The seasonal tasks are also thematically tied to whatever the pass is and whatever update just came into the game. This pass is tied to Necromancy, which is the new skill that just arrived. To reflect all of the changes, we also have new UI, and we have a new currency that replaced the Yak coins. There was actually going to be a unique currency every track. On top of that, the shop with consumables is actually bad, and you need to use the currency to actually buy some of the cosmetics as well by spending X amount of currency on them. It also lasts for an entire 90 days, so the pass will essentially be permanent, as we'll have 4 every year, and they last for 90 days, therefore we have passes all year round. We have new content buffs that you earn charges to spend every time you complete a specific level. These content buffs will give you specific buffs throughout the game. Some of them reduce the amount of glue scroll steps that you need to do, for example. These charges are limited in nature. Although, with the feedback, players didn't like it too much, so as soon as they came into the game, pretty much they were instantly removed, as people weren't huge fans of it. Also, buying level skips is back, and this time you could actually directly buy currency as opposed to indirectly doing so, and that has also been removed, as MTX was actually removed from the game. So buying skips or buying currency or anything where you can spend your bonds to skip or get anything from the Hero Pass is currently disabled. And lastly, they actually removed the daily challenges, which they brought back because players wanted them back. And with that, they also brought the keys for Treasure Hunter that the challenges give you. So, let's talk about the good, because not everything actually was bad, contrary to popular belief. Now, a lot of these points, both the good and the bad, actually have huge overlap with my Yak Track video, but nonetheless, I think it's important to include it here. Some of these changes and the good is actually a lot of stuff that I gave as solutions in my Yak Track video, so not patting myself on the back, but patting myself on the back. So first of all, the overall point system. That is just really good. It makes it so you have a diversity of ways to which approaching different tasks and approaching how to do the pass. You don't need to interact with it, but if you do want to interact with it, you're not locked to a single task or just play the game. Overall, it gives a far more dynamic approach to the content itself. You can just, again, choose to ignore to make progress and still make progress, interact with specific tasks here and there, you know, and not feel like, again, with Yak Track, you're simply locked to either you passively play the game or you do that very specific task to go ahead. The seasonal thematic tasks, right now they're not very interesting in my opinion, since that it's just, oh yeah, gain X level in Necromancy. However, they are a pretty good basis for the future, and same goes for the weekly tasks that actually stack, there's no pressure in doing them, they're not time gated, and as a result they can also be diverse, even though right now again they're not really diverse, but the basis of them is there. They're not time gated, which means that Jagex can actually make whatever interesting task they want, and I really feel that they were too conservative in these tasks. I really wish that they would have gone a little bit more on the diversity side, but it is a very good basis and it does show that there is a lot of potential there. And lastly, and I think that this was actually a really good thing, was actually the removal of daily challenges and the keys that came from it. Now, they didn't entirely remove daily challenges as they substituted it with the daily hero missions, but they heavily nerfed it. They nerfed the XP that you would get from daily challenges. And I think that anything that combats daily escape, especially to put more focus on actually improving the skills, because the skills kinda suck, as opposed of, you know, just giving you an excuse to skip them, is a very good change, especially the removal of the keys, because essentially these keys aren't being given to you because Jagex is a good company that, you know, cares about people being able to do treasure enter. They care about you being able to do treasure enter because they want to entice you and, you know, make you more familiar and sort of, you know, turn down your barriers to be more okay with doing treasure enter and eventually buying keys. That's their ultimate objective. So any change in the game that makes you less likely to, you know, be enabled to do that is a good change in my opinion. Sure, you still have the daily keys from logging in, but at least you don't have these extra keys, so you have less of a reason to do treasure enter, which overall was a good change. Unfortunately, this change was completely reverted, and that can serve as a segue to talk about the bad. So, starting with the bad, the daily challenges being back. Obviously, as I alerted to previously, but not just because daily escape in the game is bad, it's because now we have more of it, because when daily challenges were removed, they were essentially replaced with the hero missions, the daily hero missions. But now you have both the daily challenges and the daily hero missions. So we went from daily challenges being nerfed, or the daily escape being nerfed, to now having double the daily escape that we started with. And obviously the keys are back, which I really hoped that they wouldn't be back, but I did see some people ask for them to be back. So unfortunately, even though players have been complaining for years about daily escape and for years about treasure enter and all of these things, unfortunately they are back, and that is a pretty big negative. The content buffs, again, they were thankfully removed, but I just think that it was an overall negative. Ultimately, I just don't think that these buffs should exist, at least not in these types of content. I think that content buffs are okay to exist in the game as long as they are content themselves, you know, like quest rewards and etc. Like, for example, the totems in Anachronia. Those totems are content buffs, just straight up content buffs. The difference is that instead of you being able to, you know, skip the totems with bonds so you can gain charges for them, instead you just actually earn them by doing content in the island, and as a result, you know, earning the right to use the buffs, like RuneScape has always been set up to do, be it with quests or achievement diaries or whatever. We get a lot of content buffs in the game, like patches not becoming diseased, etc., right? But those buffs need to come from the game itself and from rewards from the game itself, not with these you know, types of systems. The MTX, obviously it's bad, and thankfully it was removed, so I don't really have much to say here other than it was actually more expensive to skip this entire hero pass than to skip Yak Track, and at the same time it was actually way worse, because at least with Yak Track you had indirect currency, but here you could just directly buy currency. The XP bonus, I know it's only 15%, but at some point in time it was actually 25% in one of the Yak Tracks. And here it's even worse, because while the XP bonus is already bad on its own, I don't think they are needed or that they should be used to entice players to do specific types of content. At this point with Hero Pass, it was programmed for Hero Pass to last 90 days or 3 months, and you were supposed to have 4 Hero Passes a year, which means that the XP bonus was essentially just all year round, just permanent buffs, and that's just not a good thing, really. The daily and weekly time tasks, Look, I think that if their objective was to nerf daily escape, which I truly believe it was, because they just outright removed daily challenges, they shouldn't have gone halfway and substituted them. I think that they should have just gone entirely and just removed all of the daily challenges, weekly challenges, tasks thing, right? So the Europass should be entirely, it's time sensitive in the sense of you have 90 days to get all of the rewards. I think that adding more time pressure in the sense of you having to log in weekly and log in daily to do these tasks that run out is just counterproductive to their goal, and on top of that, it doesn't really bode well for the people that like to do daily challenges because of the OP rewards that was the XP, and now essentially instead of being removed completely for the sake of the health of the game, you just substituted it. Okay, so this is more of a minor point, but the UI doesn't resize to the size of your screen. I like to play RuneScape 3 not in full screen, I like to play it in these fixed, sort of almost old school RuneScape dimensions, which means that the screen is actually pretty small, but because the UI is actually bigger than my screen currently, at least the screen that I have set up, with the dimensions that I have set up, essentially I can see the entire of the UI, and I don't know if you can resize it, but this actually happens throughout a lot of the game, and it's really not pretty to look at. Like, if I play like this and I natively just play like this, the UI should just automatically resize to the size of your screen. This is also a huge grind. Like, you need to do daily challenges in order to just complete the entire pass. Now, it's not as big of a grind as some people set out to make it seem. A lot of people were like, oh, you need to play 10,000 hours in order to complete it without doing any of the challenges or whatever. You would have to actually actively ignore the claiming of the challenges that you were inevitably going to finish by playing the game that much. With that being said, it is still a pretty big grind, and the fact that you do need to do daily challenges is pretty bad. You also have Comp-Cape rewards on the consumables that you can open in the form of the normal rocks and the gold rocks that you make the statues with, which is a Comp-Cape requirement. This has actually been an overall issue for a couple of years, where consumables give you stuff like anima for shattered worlds that have some nice rewards for some abilities and whatnot, but here it was pretty egregious, especially because you could just buy currency to buy the consumables, and while consumables are limited per day, you can still buy them essentially, and I just don't think that that's a very good thing. I haven't seen a lot of people actually talk about the fact that you can just outright buy Comp-Cape progress. Obviously now that MTX has been disabled, you can no longer do that, but I still think that having these sacks that give you these types of rewards aren't good for the game. You also have a new thing here where you need to essentially spend the currency that you earn in the shop to spend X amount in order to unlock some cosmetics. I get the idea, I don't think it's a very good one. I mean, I get that you probably can, I haven't looked at it actually, I haven't done the maths, but I think you can just earn the cosmetic anyway. If you do all of the tasks, you earn enough currency where you don't need to earn any extra, but I still don't think that's a very good thing, personally. It just, like, the cosmetics should be earnable through completing the missions themselves, not through getting currency. Otherwise, it's just another random event like the many that already exist in the game. Also, the fact that you would get a new currency every Europass is just not a good thing. I don't think that players would enjoy that, and I don't think that it would open doors for very balanced content, if you will. And on that note, it's worth pointing out that you could not buy the older cosmetics. It's still not a possibility, and I don't think that it would be a possibility in the future, given that the currency would be different every Europass. Because I don't just like to point to things being wrong, and I also like to offer some solutions regardless of them being good or bad, I have some, obviously. So first of all, and especially since daily challenges are back, just remove the daily tasks and honestly just substitute them for either like tasks that accumulate if you're gonna want to have a daily normal task, so they remain until the end of the pass, or just create a pool of tasks that players can just generate on their own so they can grind as many points as they wish without the need of obsessing over logging in daily. And if you want to combat daily escape, This would probably be the way to do it, so players, instead of having to log in daily, they can just log in on the weekends, they have more time to play, and they can choose to just do more tasks. This would also serve as a way to sort of guide players that aren't exactly sure on what to do and can give them an idea for that. This wouldn't actually give any extra rewards, they would just give the same points that daily tasks already do, except you could just generate them whenever you wanted as opposed to having to log in daily just to do them. Make the pass completable through only seasonal and weekly tasks. I know that these might sound a bit crazy, however, I just think that should be the case. I think that stuff like daily tasks and whatnot should just be an extra thing for people to do. The seasonal tasks and the weekly tasks that stack are the most interesting ones, are the ones that people are going to be looking to do anyway for the challenge of it, or just to, have something to do or whatever. They are the most interesting. I don't think that you need any extra tasks in order to complete the pass. At least the normal pass that gives you all the cosmetics should be completable only through seasonal and weekly tasks. On top of that, and on the reverse of the coin, I think that the Hero Pass should just be completable by not touching any tasks whatsoever, and for that to be possible, like 100, maybe 200 hours to complete the entire thing without touching on any of the tasks. And without making it too much of a grind for the players that do want to complete it. You have 90 days, 100 to 200 hours isn't that much anyway, and honestly, if players don't want to engage with it, they should not be just locked out of rewards anyway. If the point is to entice players to play the game, you can just do that by allowing them to still complete the pass by just, playing the game. This one should be obvious enough, just remove the XP bonus. I don't think XP bonuses should be a thing to entice players to take part in specific activities. Ultimately, all that does is just make the game have so much extra XP stuff that instead of players doing stuff because it's fun or players want to genuinely engage with it, they just engage with the stuff that gives them XP, which usually means the stuff that gives them the most XP. If something doesn't give enough XP, players are not gonna care about it, they're not gonna engage with it, and then that's the problem, is that you essentially are just using power creep in the sense of XP, where if something doesn't give good enough XP, you need to increase the XP as opposed to just making it fun. I think that making it fun should always be the road, and these XP bonus just sort of implies, or at least it puts in the game this culture where for you to entice players you should just get more XP and more XP and more XP as opposed to just making something fun. Also, in the spirit of what I talked about, players being able to finish the pass, I think that the consumables should be enough extra reward for players that simply want to engage further with the pass, more than they have to, really. And especially the tasks, if the tasks are fun, players are gonna engage with them anyway, regardless of the rewards. But the consumables should not have comp cape progress and things of the sort. They should have, maybe some coins, or if you want to go for the XP, just, some extra XP stars or whatever. Just have things and items that, for example, just extra items like clue scroll items, or when I say clue scroll items, I just mean normal items that aren't clue scroll uniques but you can get from clue scrolls, for example. The consumable should have more that logic and follow more that logic, instead of just giving you a bunch of stuff that, again, just like XP, substitutes content instead of just making that content more fun to go through. And lastly, I think they should just make some rewards for free players and others for members. This is essentially just to entice players to actually subscribe to the game and become members to get access to the full rewards. I understand, Jagex wants to make money and battle passes are there to make money. However, I think that if you have a monetizable piece of content where the point of it is for players to subscribe to the game and become members, become paying customers essentially, that's probably an acceptable way of monetizing it according to most players. If you are offering certain rewards just for members, so free players can actually, subscribe and get those rewards, I'm already a member, I'm already playing, I'm not losing on anything, I don't feel exploited, and you still have new players paying for your product. That should pretty much be the only acceptable way of monetizing this type of content. So, was the Hero Pass all bad like a lot of content creators and players have said? Obviously not, it's a bit more nuanced than that. Overall, I feel that Hero Pass offered much more content than Yak Track, and that's why it felt so much more worse and so much more intrusive to the game, when in reality the monetization options, aside from content buffs, were exactly the same. It made a lot of wrong steps, don't get me wrong, but it also made some right steps. Overall, obviously the content buffs are bad, the MTX is definitely bad, but I'm also not too fond of the fact that the daily challenges are back and that the keys are also back from those same challenges. And quite frankly, I was happy that Hero Pass got to a point where we didn't have MTX or content buffs, because overall its basis, it's actually decent, and Jagex have said that they want to bring these types of systems into the game, because contrary to what a lot of people were saying, Hero Pass is not new. Hero Pass is the second thing that Jagex has developed in these types of systems. The first one was Yak Track, which was around for 4 years. This was their second go at it, and they have said that it's not the last one. Even though this is the last and the first Hero Pass, it's not the last system that Jagex is using to try and bring these types of systems into the game. And quite frankly, I think that if that is what they're going to do, I would rather have Hero Pass, especially now that it's in a place where it doesn't have content buffs or MTX, than, a new system that will probably have MTX in the future. Honestly, while they are developing a new system, chances are Yak Track is gonna come back. And if Yak Track comes back, it's not gonna come back without MTX. It will come back with the skips, and it will probably come back with the Yak coins that you can spend on a store, that you can buy with bonds, because you can skip the last task as I explained in my other Yak Track. Overall, I'm just not very optimistic. In a community that has complained for years about the daily escape and treasure hunter and overall MTX, wanting those things to come back after they removed it just because another update does them worse, and when I say worse in this case is offering less XP, because in reality for the health of the game, it was actually better. So yes, Hero Pass had a lot of negative things, but it also did some right things. The fact that players outright rejected everything, and the fact that I've started to see players say that they want Yak Track back, doesn't really bode well for my optimism for the future.